Okay, hello world.
Hello world. Hello,
Morning
universe.
everyone. This is a Facebook Live of Japanese class from JCC Miami. Today's April what? 9th. Okay. Very good. Uh-oh. Okay, どうぞ.
Yeah, our usual two friends. Are you
I'm gonna be here.
here?
Yes, because Mariso's here.
Okay. Would you be okay if we read through the conversation once and then allow them to practice?
Sure.
Okay. So who would you like to be?
Me? I will be Michiko-san.
I'll
Maybe you'll be
I'll take my usual Wendy-san.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. So this is gonna be an example of going to the train station. Eki. To use ikimasu in an example. So, and you see it? Okay. So, Michiko-san, 大丈夫ですか?
はい、ちょっと寒いですが大丈夫です。
そうですか。この手袋。
でもウェンディさんのだけど。
いいから、本当に大丈夫ですよ。私はニューヨークから来ています。本当です。
本当ですか。はは、そうね。本当にありがとう。あるくん。
That's on the script. じゃあ、どこに行きますか?
札幌駅に行きます。それから札幌時計台に行きます。
ああ、いいですね。有名ですね。
そうですね。楽しみにしています。
ありがとうございます。
はい。
So, Claudio-san has lost his conversation partner, so I'll be his conversation partner. So we'll take it little bit by little bit. That was just to do a run through so that way you hear the whole thing in one go to start off with. First off, since now it's a private tutoring session, any questions so far? Okay. So our first line, Michiko-san, is fairly self-explanatory. That's her name. Daijobu desu ka is something that you've undoubtedly heard before. Daijobu is okay or fine or all right, and the desu ka is establishing this is a question. Good to go? So we need to take this line here. Hey. Hey, arigato. To which Michiko-san replies, Hai, chotto samui desu ga daijoubu desu. So hi, you've seen before, is yes. Chotto, you've also seen before, it means different things, but in this case, it's meaning a little of blank. So in this case, samui, cold. Now, samui is one way of saying cold that refers more so to the temperature. Like it is cold, like it's cold outside. If something like, say, a beverage was cold, then you'd have the word for tsumetai. So there's different ways of saying cold depending on what you're talking about, whether you're talking about the weather, the temperature, versus if you take something out of the freezer and a refrigerator, it is cold. That's a different kind of cold. Now, you may not have seen ga in this context before, right? So when chotto samui desu ga, the ga here functions similar to the word but, B-U-T, in English. Though notice that just for grammar purposes, it's before the comma as opposed to what it would be in English. So this connects these two different parts of the sentence here. So what she's saying is, I'm a little cold, but I'm okay. So the daijobu desu is doing what it's normally doing. She's answering Wendy-san's question of if she's okay. She's saying, I'm a little cold, but I'm okay. Does that make sense? So, yes.
Why would you say chotto samui ga daijoubu desu instead of chotto samui desu demo daijoubu desu?
You want to
I think that's okay.
Yeah, both would be okay.
Yeah, because ga is but, right? So as you're saying, you're replacing it with you said kedo?
Yeah, demo.
でも、でもちょっと寒いです。Period, right? 丸けど大丈夫です。でも大丈夫です。Like,
Yeah.
I think that's totally okay.
Yeah. Similar to how in English, you could say, I'm a little cold, but I'm okay. You could theoretically say, I'm a little cold, period. However, I'm okay. So there's different ways of getting across the same idea.
This is a little more formal, I would say, but it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I think in general I've been leaning more towards, not necessarily keigo level of formal, but leaning towards formal. If nothing else, it's the best thing to start off with. And secondly, it's also what we've been learning in terms of how to conjugate. This version of conjugating verbs, it's not super formal, but it is the more formal way to start off with.
Yeah.
As opposed to the so-called, the casual short version, where theoretically you could say, asago hana taberu, which means the same thing of I'm eating breakfast, but that might be something you say to a friend you've known for a long time, or to somebody who's younger than you. But we're learning so far the more formal version just because it's a good place to start off with. And did you say the second line yet? Or, so shall we? Please?
Yes.
はい。ちょっと寒いが。
寒いですが。
ちょっと寒いですが。大丈夫です。
はい、ありがとうございます。Followed by, そうですかこれ、この手袋。Now, そうですか you've seen before is essentially the rhetorical question of is that so? Not necessarily looking to have a specific response of being confirmed, but similar to the idea of, oh really, kind of thing. The kore, we've seen kore before. Kore, sore are. Kore would refer to this thing, for example, that I might be holding, like this marker that I'm holding in my hand. Now, kore can be essentially its own sentence by itself, by just indicating, here, this thing. Similar to, in English, if I said, here, like, exclamation point, have this. So it functions, even though the word kore is nominally supposed to mean this, it can also mean here, in the context of English, of here, this blank in my hand. Kono, similar to how kore is this, kono would be this thing, so it needs a noun after it. Tebukuro is gloves. So kono tebukuro would be literally, it would translate as these gloves, but in context, what Wendy-san is saying is, here, take these gloves, in other words, without actually having to spell out that she's giving the gloves to Michiko-san. It's implied in the conversation. Does that make sense?
Why is kore, kono? The one is this is this, and
Yes.
the other one's implying these.
So,
But why kore kono tebukuro?
so kore does not need a noun after it. Kono does. So kono, sono, or ano, or dono, all need some sort of noun afterwards. So, for example, kono. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me try that again. Kono neko would be this cat, but kore by itself would just be this, or in this case, the English equivalent for here, this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like drawing attention, I think. Like,
Yeah.
here, the gloves, like, kind of like that. So, and maybe when you read it, like, together, it's like, but I think that in a conversation context, like, he just wanted to, like,
Draw
point
attention.
that, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar to how, yes, go ahead.
I have a question about that word.
Tebukuro.
Te is hand.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember watching a film that was Ike Bukuro.
Yeah.
What is Ike?
Ike is a pond.
Pond. So Ike Bukuro is what? Pond gloves?
Well, but that's the name of the place, though.
Yeah, Ikebukuro is a district in Tokyo.
I know, that's good.
Incidentally, it's also a ground zero for manga enthusiasts. Just a small detail.
Yeah, that's true. But if you think about the, what that really means, ikebukuro, I never even thought about that,
Yeah.
right? But this, yeah, it's interesting because it's like a bag that holds,
Your
a
hand.
sack that holds your hands, right? That's tebukuro. So it's like kind of interesting, like,
How these things
analogy,
blend
right?
together.
Yeah.
The same way how, kuruma isu is wheelchair. It's literally, isu is chair, and kuruma implies a sort of something that moves forward with a wheel.
Yeah, like, kuruma means car, but right, something that has a wheels, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
So it's blending it together. Similar to how you do the place names drawing on something that you would not associate with that place. Take Akihabara as an example. The bara at the end has the character for field, like an open space. Now, granted, anybody who's been to Akihabara would not associate that with open spaces and fields.
No.
But nevertheless, at a point in the past, it was. And the name is just stuck around as that location, even if by visual appearance, there's no, for example, in Ikebukuro, there's no pond there anymore.
Right.
But undoubtedly, at some point, there was.
Right, right.
So, demo, Wendy-san no da kedo, with that little, by the way, do you need a second, or?
No, I'm fine. I'm just looking for the paper as we go.
おはようございます. The "eh" followed by the little "tsu" afterwards is, we've seen that before, indicates some degree of surprise about something. So that's not that too hard to explain. Demo, I think you were referencing demo before, could mean but, however, though. Wendy-san no. Now, Wendy-san, once again, fairly self-explanatory. The no after the name brings up something interesting. So we've seen before blank no blank. So, for example, Wendy-san no neko would be Wendy-san's cat. Now, if you notice, dakedo is not a noun to which that belongs to Wendy-san. So that raises the question, where's the missing noun? So, interestingly enough, because tebukuro, gloves, is up here, it's already clear that we're talking about tebukuro, gloves. So since that has already been established, technically, you can technically could throw tebukuro here, Wendy-san no tebukuro dakedo. But since it's already clear we're talking about tebukuro as gloves, you can leave tebukuro out after the no, because it's already understood that that's what you're talking about. So imagine if in English, for example, it would be, here, please take these gloves. A person in English might respond, huh, but those are yours. They could say, technically, but those are your gloves, but it's already clear, whether it's in English or in Japanese, that you're talking about gloves. So it wouldn't necessarily need to be said again. So Wendy-san no already makes it clear by itself that I'm talking about the gloves that belong to her. And dakedo, similar to demo, is similar to the idea of but, however, although. But it's, in this case...
Kind of like how we kind of leave out the noun, kind of like it was like, if we understand those are your gloves, we just kind of like, hey, those are yours.
Exactly.
We just kind of like cut that out.
Right. So in both contexts, you can potentially leave the word out if it's already clear what you're talking about. And the dakedo at the end, nominally speaking, it functions similar to but, however, or though. You can also use it to end a sentence as a way of, how would you put it, Yu Sensei? It kind of leaves, with dakedo at the end, it kind of leaves things off in a way that it,
ああ、ウェンディさんのだけどいいんですかみたいな感じでしょ Like, it's yours, so is that okay? But is that okay? It's
Yeah.
not really there.
right. So the dakedo functions similar to the idea of daijoubu desu ka. It's sort of like the idea of, think of it this way. If you ask a question in English, normally your voice intonation goes up. Like, oh, how are you? Or how are you? Kind of thing. However, you might say a sentence in a way that you're implying you're not fully sure about whether or not something is true. And so you still end it with that voice intonation going up as though it was a question. So, oh, that car is yours? Now, I could say that car is yours if I just say it, like the same sort of voice level would be a sentence. If I say that car is yours, then even though it's written like a sentence, it functions more like a question as though I'm confirming, is that in fact true? The dakedo here, as Yui Sensei was saying, functions in a similar way to confirm, in other words, is it okay if I use your gloves, Wendy-san? Does that make sense? Any questions about any of that?
No.
Good. I just want to make sure that I don't go too fast, because I know this is a lot of difficult stuff.
But I mean, I'm probably gonna have to review this.
Well, that's why we posted on the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, I know.
So it's past 10:20 now. Did you want to do Bible stuff and the hiragana?
Is this good? Do you want to finish like before you go into station, like this one? That's fine.
Well, there's still a healthy chunk to go.
Yeah, but I think that like this one kind of ends the one, like kind of chunk of thing. Because next one you go
Sure.
like maybe until here.
Right, okay. So our next line, いいから本当に大丈夫ですよ。私はニューヨークから来ています。So いいから you see that little bit that e there. いいから is down here like don't worry or that's okay. In response to Michiko-san implying is it okay if I use your gloves. 本当に is like the English word really. Like it's, or truthfully, something of that nature. 本当に大丈夫ですよ. 大丈夫 is the same as it's always been, all right, okay, or fine. And that desu yo, we talked about yo before as a way of emphasizing a fact, like almost like an exclamation point in this case. So together, 本当に大丈夫ですよ is really, it's okay, don't worry. Watashi is what watashi has been always, it's I or me. Watashi wa, that wa being that subject marker again. New Yorku. I want to be a part of this. New York. No. And kara. Kara can do a number of different things. In this case, what kara does is implying from a place. So I'm from here. New Yorku kara. So from New York. Kiteimasu comes from a verb that we'll go over in more detail later. Kuru, to come. So kara kuru, or kara kiteimasu in this case, would mean to come from blank. And this New Yorku kara kiteimasu is I'm coming from New York. So the idea being I'm okay with the cold. Whatever, so you already handled a bunch of lines so far, so I'm not going to persecute you anymore. Michelle-san, Loretta-san, would you like to take this line here? Oh, thank you for volunteering, Sato-san. So from, so that way we're not too unfair to you. From here to here. Okay.
いいから
Mhm.
本当に大事を振っていましょう。
大丈夫。
駅の背中にだから大丈夫ですよ。私はニューヨークから来ています。
はい、ありがとうございます。And then our last time before transitioning over, ahaha, which shockingly translates to ha ha ha. Sone. Sone can have different meanings. In this case, it can translate as to oh well or okay, sure. Oh well doesn't necessarily mean oh well in a negative sense, like oh well. It can mean something in the sense of all right, I get it, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Which word?
So, this, where did it go? Oh, there you are. Soulme, together. Soulme. Or is there a better way of describing it? I feel like it's very technical, the way I talked about it.
That's fine.
And then hontoni is similar to the hontoni up here, meaning like really or true, truly. Arigato, which I think we've seen before. So since we already persecuted Sawaru-san last time, Michelle-san, Loretta-san, would either of you like to take this line down here? Oh, hi, Loretta-san.
Right.
Mhm.
So, su, ne,
Mhm.
hon,
Mhm.
to, u,
Hontoni.
uni, wa,
Oh, hontoni. Oh, let me get rid of that. And then,
arigato.
arigato gozaimasu. There you go. So, all this coming together to say, Ichigo-san was cold. Wendy-san offered her gloves. Michiko-san was asking to confirm, is that okay? Wendy-san is saying, of course it is. I'm used to the cold because I'm from the frozen tundra of Manhattan. And Ichigo-san said, I guess so. Really, thank you. And we'll leave that off for there for right now. We'll get back to the conversation next week. Both this has already been posted as well as the grammar slides from earlier. So if you need to review anything, or also if you need to ask me a question about anything, feel free to let me know. And we'll, now I'll pass off the baton.
Okay. Okay, so I was going to be here for the Japanese class last week, but this is a week before last week. We looked at this verse. Remember? Anybody want to read and refresh our memory? Or have anybody memorized this other song?
This is the persecute Saru Sunday.
I was saying it with Aruko this morning. Aruko, 言ってみる?言ってみる? いつも言ってくれないの? クラウディオさんどうですか?
Which one?
This one.
There's no logic to run away from.
Oh, it's here. It's on the next page. But you can read hiragana.
I could.
Yes. Go ahead.
I think I can.
Itsumo yo ro honde nasai.
Hi. Do you want to give somebody else?
Yeah.
Okay. Loretta-san. Second.
Okay. Ta, su,
Ta,
su,
e,
oh, yeah. Su, zu, e, no, no, yeah.
Nori,
No, ta,
na.
fa, na, sa,
はい。
e.
はい。ミシェルさん。
はい。どんなことにも感謝しなさい。
はい。どんなことにも感謝しなさい。サウルさん。
はい。
忙しくしてる。
You're preparing.
ここ。
Okay.
ここ。
第二手3ロに手の手がみ
So 手紙. This is a like letter of Second Thessalonians. That's the first.
Thessalonike.
Sorry, it should be first actually. There was a typo. I did mention it, right? Actually, 第一ですね。おはようございます。
手第
じゃないよこれ。
い
第
第手
一
第四
一。第 is like number one. 第一。
第一テサロニケの手紙
So Tegami is letter. Thessaloniki is the name of the place, right? And the people that they're referring to. Letter to the Thessalonians. This is number.
ごじゅ
Go.
ごしょ
Go show. Go is 5. Go show. Chapter 5. Oh, I don't have. I can spell now. What is 16? 16節。
から
はい。18? 18節。18節ですね。It's a regular one. 18節 instead of saying 18節 which is okay, but okay, so じゃあ、Do you read 漢字？ちょっとチャレンジでね。これ読めますか？
いつも、その感じわかんない。
いつも？
喜んでいなさい。
はい。
絶えず祈りなさい。
はい、ケビンさん。
どんなことにも、
はい。
わからない。
感謝しなさい。
はい。Good teamwork.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So the English is rejoice always is here. Oh, this is better, I think. Rejoice always, pray continually, right? いつも喜んでいなさい. Always, right? いつも is always rejoice. 絶えず祈りなさい. 絶えず without ceasing or continually 祈りなさい. Pray. どんなことにも感謝しなさい. 感謝 is be thankful. However it is, どんなこと. Right? So that's from 第一テサロニケの手紙 5:16 to 18. So I wanted some of you to memorize. I wanted you to memorize this.
Is it on the thingy?
Yes, so for next week. I did send it late, so
Maybe I should put this in our office.
yeah, yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Every 5 minutes, just turn and read
Everybody
it.
come in the morning and read
Yeah.
this.
That way we really will always be.
Yes, this is really a step, yeah, because, but then the underlying thing is with our God, we can always be thankful. Like that's we can rejoice always. This is the thing. Like if you're relying on our own, being joyful is hard because our circumstances make you feel like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, how can we rejoice when things are bad? But God never leaves us, so that really we have this underlying joy there. So that's the key, but still I think it's good for everybody. So, okay. So then I have another one related to Easter. Okay. I already said that though. これ、イースター。読めますか？イースター。これ、
イースター。
イースター。これ、デイビッドさん、これ。
Ooh.
Oh, you
Oh,
see
let's
that?
see. Fu.
No, I don't want to show it to you.
You shouldn't have highlighted it. So, fu. I see Matsuri there, but I.
Yes. But onyomi is. Onyomi.
On you. Ooh. 失敗します。
Go ahead, go ahead. What is this?
I don't know the onyomi for Matsuri.
Okay, so what is the first two then?
Fuka.
You said it, I think. Fukkatsu.
Fukatsu.
Sai.
Fukatsu.
Right, Fukkatsu Sai. Sai is onyomi and matsuri. So Fukkatsu is basically translation of Japanese translation of Easter. but because we don't celebrate Easter, really, right? Other than church, like general public, maybe people see bunnies and eggs, but nobody knows what that means, right? Kind of stuff. I don't know.
Most people in the West don't either.
Well, yeah, sure, but in Japan even worse. I think. I mean, we haven't been back in. I haven't been back in April, so to know, but right.
In Japan, Easter is almost no one cares or
Oh no.
they don't know.
Right, everybody knows Christmas, even though they may not celebrate in a way that we do, to the extent, in a sense of like the birth of Jesus thing, but Easter is, maybe you see it, some things in the foreign markets, as maybe foreigners buy stuff,
Chocolate.
eggs and rabbits, but yeah, it's, I guess that they didn't turn it into the marketing thing, because
No.
when people start doing the marketing, really linked it to marketing, like Valentine's Day is big,
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, but not so big.
Halloween.
Halloween is
the-
big for whatever reason.
The most commercial American holidays are the ones that are the most likely to have jumped over and actually built up a tradition outside of the religious context. I mean, while Easter does have a sort of secular version to it, it is not as prolific as Halloween or Valentine's Day or Christmas.
Right, because underneath is like Jesus' resurrection. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Though weirdly, the bunnies snuck in somehow because that has nothing to do with the Bible story.
Yeah, I think that's not in the Bible. It's interesting.
Where did the bunny come from?
So,
In Easter, what's the relation with
so bunnies, I mean, as the joke goes, bunnies can create more bunnies very quickly. So the idea is, because Easter comes around the spring equinox of the beginning of spring, so part of, it might sound awkward to say, part of Easter is the Christian celebration of the resurrection of Jesus. The part that snuck in is almost pagan in some way, because it involves the idea of celebrating fertility and the return of spring, meaning life returning again. And there's no animal that's more associated with fertility than rabbits, because they make lots of little rabbits. Hence,
That makes sense, yes.
the egg is referring to new life.
Yeah, the rabbits don't have eggs.
No.
So
So the entire
that's marketing.
Right, yeah. Well, and also just the egg being a symbol of, a new living thing coming into being.
So I mean, that has more link to the Easter, right? I mean, in a sense that it's a new life because Jesus died,
Right.
He is resurrected, so that He gives us new life. So that
It fused together.
I mean, it's easier to link in some way, even though the Bible does not talk about it.
At all. At all.
So, but this Bible verse is sort of like, in lieu of that, right? Actually, the version, Shinkaiyaku, the version that I was looking at, the first part was in hiragana, so I was like, oh, David-san, what are you do, But there is a kanji for yomigaeri and inochi, but, it didn't, I mean, I just copied what it says originally. So, Kemi-san, what are you going first line?
Can I do the first two actually? Because I think I know the kanji in the second line.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah, whatever, how much ever you can.
私は読みがえる命です。私は信じる者。
Mono. Sha is the onyomi, so it's like another way of reading this kanji. Yeah, mono.
信じる者は死んでも生きるのです。
Yeah. Very good. はい、ハウルさん、
はい、
これ。
私はミカエリです。
はい、ロレッタさん。
です。
はい、ミシェルさん。
はい、私を信じる者は死んでも生きるのです。
はい、クラウディオさん。Very good. これWhat do you know? よ
Oh, oh. The blue screen of death.
青。
これ、ね、
네.
Yohane. John is Yohane. It's not, it's different in each language. In Portuguese, what is Yohane?
João.
Right, kind of like that, Johan. No, maybe not.
is
But in Spanish it's one, so it's not like.
Oh, you want it, Johan?
Yohane. John, Juan.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
In some
It's a little.
in some Eastern European languages, it's like it's Johann for John as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yohane. Hi.
요한이
Mhm.
요르 후쿠이 쇼
Mhm.
JC
Duisho.
쇼
Right.
25節
Hi. Very good. はい。そうですね。私はこれ actually Jesus said this. So 私 is not 私 but him. Jesus said 私何？はい。I am よみがえり。そう難しいね。これあんまり聞かないと思いますが、I made this in English.
Is it? Oh wait, is it? No, I'm thinking kami.
よみがえり is a one word.
Is that referring to wait?
Is it like?
Is
God
that
return?
truth?
No, it's what did it say? これだ。はい。
Oh, the resurrection.
Yes, よみがえり is resurrection. It's a very specific word, but because of the Bible verse, because we're talking about Easter, I was like, okay, you may not hear this again, but that's what it means. Like, I'm the resurrection. Inochi, which you've heard. Inochi, what is inochi? Inochi.
Very important.
Yeah. I know you know the verse that talks about inochi in Japanese. John 14:6.
I understand that.
Yeah, but
Yomigai. Returning from the dead.
Oh, yeah. That's true. But the word, the kanji is different.
Kanji is
It's a different one. But then this means, it does mean
so.
like yomi, right? Interesting.
That's I never noticed.
Yeah. It's like, 覚えてる命。私は命であり、真理でありっていう。Yeah. What is 命?
Yeah, but that's not in that verse. 私は水であり、真理であり。命であり。ああ、命はやばい。What is it?
Yes, it's coming back to you, right?
Yeah.
命 is life. So 私は蘇りです。I'm resurrection and life. Yeah. So life. In the life. 私を、so again 私を信じるもの。信じる。What does 信じる mean? You know? To believe. 信じるものは、もの is a person, right? 信じる。The person who believes in me 死んでも生きるのです。死ぬ What is 死ぬはタオルさん。
死ぬ。
あは。ミシェルさん、死ぬ。To die.
おいや。
はい、生きる。生きるは何ですか？
あ、生きる？
うん。
生きる is to live
To live, yes, exactly. So, 私を信じる者は the person who believes in me, you die but you live. See, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. So it's like the order is a little bit different, but they say the same thing. Yo soy la resurrección y la vida. El que cree en mí, aunque esté muerto, vivirá. はい。見えないですか？見えますか？これと俺は見えますか？
Which one is it?
これ、あ、見えますか？
Eu sou a ressurreição. ressurreição e a vida. Aquele que cria em mim, ainda que morra, viverá.
ちょっと似てますね、これ。
Portugués.
はい。はい。
João 11.
Okay. 1:11. Okay. はい。ということで、so he's a resurrection, his life. So if you believe in him, even though we die and the body, our body doesn't stay after we die, but our spirit goes to heaven. So that's why we don't like actually die, because our spirit is gonna live forever in heaven. So that's like the summary of what Easter is about, because it's like we see all these other things, right? With the rabbit and bunny and I don't know, whatever it's hunt, and kids might see and enjoy that kind of stuff, but it's essentially we're celebrating the resurrection of Jesus. And because we can have eternal life, it's a big deal. Because Christmas is important because if Jesus wasn't born, he can, give us life. But if he doesn't resurrect, we don't live. We can go to heaven, then that's a big deal too. So I think that's why Easter and Christmas is a big deal, right? Both in a different way, but complementary. So that's that. I think this is good to memorize. This is so good to memorize. We got a lot to memorize. But Saru-san, both? You did both? Okay. If you just want to stick with the first part, that's okay. But if you can do both, that's either good. But I highlighted the first part. And we did Hiragana before, but it's almost done. But I don't even know where we left off, because we've been kind of like all over the place as far as like my part. Because we were doing like ha, maybe. Did we do this?
We did not do I think the last one we did was
Ta.
ta.
We did this, right?
Oh. Actually, no, we did. We did. Yeah.
I think we did this too. But maybe not this.
I don't remember this slide.
Maybe we can do this a little bit. Okay. So hahihoho. We've been kind of going over hiragana reading. Taro-san, you know why you have this picture? Maria. I know. Hi, and read the last one, please.
The last one. Futari.
二人です。これ二人です。どういう意味でしょう What does that mean?
I don't know.
Anybody?
Two people.
Two people. 二人. It didn't, actually it didn't matter what two people, but I just thought way important two people, I guess. And then
How do you say one person?
one person. Okay.
Hitori.
Hitori.
Then how do you say three persons?
三人.
That's real white.
Santori.
Nande!
Santori.
はい。一人、二人、三人です。
Don't ask me why.
私のひらがなはfour people?
四人.
4人。
4人です。一人。これは it's very like it's not regular. 一人、二人。But kanji is basically same because one, two, three, four. Even the way it reads is like off, right? One person, this is person, kanji person. 一人、二人、三人、四人. I think after that is pretty intuitive in a sense, just put number and 人. 5人、6人、7人、8人、9人.
7人 or 7人?
Either one, I think.
Okay.
7人. I say 7人.どうですか?
Well, I use both.
Mm-hmm.
But either one is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 7人 or 7人.
For example, if I want to reserve a restaurant, 6 o'clock tonight 7人で
Yeah. Okay. But I don't think there's any regional differences or what's good or what's not good because you both are correct kind of stuff. So if you think shi is a kind of you know that is a harder to pronounce. If you want to stick with nananin, that's totally maybe really good, easier because it's hard to mislead people with nana, right? So okay. これはanybody want to read this? 風船これです。あ、はい、これはロレッタさん。これは何ですか、ミシェル？踏切。踏切どれですか？どれですか？踏切。はい、これです。このシステム。That's called 踏切。I was trying to find a word that starts with
Yeah, it's harder than you think.
Yeah. And then プラギオさんから。普通これなんですけど It's hard to put picture of 普通 is どういう意味ですか
Is it normal or?
Yeah, normal. So this is 普通って何 What is normal? Because it's hard to say what is normal, right? It's like depends on what we're talking about too. And also we have a lot of diversity. What is usual? What is ordinary, right? So I had a hard time coming up with a picture, so I just put that. But 普通 is like sometimes you'll say like なんか答えの時普通とかね
B マイナス
あ、どうだった普通 like movie とか if you say maybeなんか
Food?
it's not good or it's not bad, it's 普通 like
Oh, average. Yeah, average.
yeah. So you can use it that way. Yeah.
So it's not like normal, like cultural
normal, average, nothing special.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's like if you say 普通の日, it's ordinary day.
Right.
You know, nothing special happened, good or bad. It's just a day, kind of.
It's funny how ordinary has come to mean in English both common as well as average.
Mm-hmm. I think it has a similar meaning, right? Yeah, so it's hard to think of when we use that word, but
Sometimes negative way. So if your friend goes on a blind date.
How was it, David-san? How was it?
Means. I mean, I said I'd call her again, but you know.
yeah, that's true. So you could use it in a different conversation. But
For example.
yeah. Okay, so
How did you know?
it's gonna be little by little, but we're gonna keep doing this visual and hiragana.
踏切 is railroad?
No, it's not a railroad. What is it called?
It's so you think of those whenever you're crossing a road, but a train railway passes through, the ding 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 ding.
Oh.
That system.
Yeah.
Gate, yeah,
Yeah, uprights. I think it's.
Call it uprights?
Wait, no, I think it's actually uprights. Well, it's the same idea because they go.
They have a gate, like a
Yeah,
gate.
it is like a gate, right?
The
Yeah.
arm.
They call it arm?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. There isn't like a specific, because of course the English language predates trains, so I don't know. So there wasn't. They had to adapt sort of English words to what this thing is.
Yeah, but this is specifically like so that people don't cross.
Exactly.
When, training's going on. It could
Right.
be. Yeah, it's train usually.
Well, no, it's not the train itself, but
No,
obviously.
but I mean the bus. We don't have the bus because bus is running with everybody else. But right, so it's. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's everywhere because people walk in Japan, right? So I think that's why it's very noticeable.
That's why people are healthy.
Yeah, that too. Okay, so we'll keep going. So now that I know where we left off. So we have Bible study now. Welcome to join. And then next week we have it's an Easter weekend. We're gonna have barbecue after Bible study. So you're welcome to join if you want more details. I haven't decided how we're gonna structure that, but we're gonna do it here, outside of this area. We got a permission, we have grill.
Can I bring something?
Yeah.
Like food?
I haven't decided if we're gonna bring something or like the structure, but
I mean, food. Could I bring food to the barbecue?
yeah,
Oh, okay,
that's
yeah.
fine. Yeah, the thing is like if you wanna bring
Oh,
something,
okay.
it's great, but it's like, is it too much? Or
Oh, okay.
no? Some people find it too much, like, oh, I have to, or no, not really. If not, then yeah, I think
Sure.
we usually do the potluck, right? So
Yeah. Sorry, I thought I might have been confused
no,
the
it's
first time.
good, it's good. No, I
Yeah.
haven't like decided completely, but yeah. But if you're interested, please let me know because we need to count the meat. You know, I have to make sure we have enough meat for everybody. So yes, hi, arigatou gozaimashita. Hi. Okay. So I did a Facebook Live today. Thank you for joining by live, and we'll see you next week.